All right, so we're diving deep today into something I think we can all relate to. It's personal finance, but, you know, not the usual boring stuff.
Yeah, we're talking about the psychology of money.
Exactly. It's all based on this really insightful book by Morgan Housel.
Yeah, the psychology of money. I think anyone who's ever felt confused or stressed out about money should check it out.
Okay, so our mission today is to kind of unpack some of the key ideas from the book and see if we can find some, I don't know, some aha moments.
Absolutely. Like those things that make you go, oh, that's why I do that with money.
Right. Okay, so Housel starts off by talking about the difference between being rich and being wealthy. And I'm thinking, isn't that kind of the same thing?
You'd think so, right? But Hassel makes a good point. He says rich is often what you see, like fancy cars and big houses.
Flashing the cash, basically.
Exactly. But wealth, that's different. It's more about having control over your time and your life, not being tied down by financial worries.
Okay, so someone could be rich on paper, but not actually wealthy in terms of real freedom.
Yeah, that's the idea. Imagine someone who's making a ton of money but hates their job, right? Or they're constantly stressed about keeping up with the Joneses. Are they truly wealthy? Probably not.
I mean, it's like that old saying, money can't buy happiness.
Right, but it can buy freedom from a lot of worries and give you the opportunity to actually pursue what makes you happy.
That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
Now, this is where it gets really interesting because Hels goes on to talk about luck and risk and how they play a huge role in financial success, maybe even failure too, right?
Yeah. He actually pushes back against the idea that it's all about hard work and skill. Like some people just get lucky breaks.
I could see that, but doesn't that kind of take away from, the idea that we have control over our financial destiny?
It might seem that way at first, but for me, I find it kind of freeing. Because look, we all make mistakes, right? And sometimes stuff happens that's totally out of our control.
Like a global pandemic or something.
Yeah. Exactly. So instead of beating ourselves up, we can focus on what we can control, making smart choices, and then rolling with the punches when things don't go as planned.
Right. So it's not about being perfect. It's about being prepared.
I think that's a great way to put it.
Okay. Now, another big thing in the book, and I'll admit, I had to read this part a couple of times to really get it's compounding. Housel calls it the eighth wonder of the world.
It's pretty powerful stuff. Basically, it's the idea that your money makes money, and then that money makes more money. It kind of snowballs over time.
So even small amounts invested regularly can grow pretty big.
Oh, absolutely. It's not about getting rich quick. It's about starting early and being consistent. Think about planting a tree.
Yeah, the best time was 20 years ago, but
The second best time is now. Exactly.
I get it. So even small amounts consistently invested over time can really add up.
Right. Warren Buffett, one of the most successful investors ever, most of his wealth came later in life because of this compounding effect. So it's even if you're not making huge returns every year, that steady growth really makes a difference in the long run.
Okay, I'm starting to see the magic here.
Yeah.
So we've talked about being wealthy versus being rich, the role of luck, and this compounding thing. What else did Housel have to say?
Well, this part really hit home for me. He talks about money scripts. It's this idea that we all have these subconscious beliefs about money that we've picked up from our families, our experiences, and they can really influence how we handle money, sometimes without us even realizing it.
Oh, I can see that.
Yeah.
If you grew up in a family that was always worried about money, you might be more likely to be a super saver even when you're doing okay financially.
Exactly. Or on the flip side, if you grew up with a lot of abundance, you might not be as careful with your spending.
Interesting. So it's not just about the numbers. It's about understanding our own emotional baggage around money.
Exactly. And becoming aware of those money scripts can help us make better decisions.
Okay, so how do we do that? How do we figure out what our money scripts are?
Well, for me, it starts with paying attention to your thoughts and feelings about money. What comes up for you when you think about spending or saving? Does it trigger anxiety, excitement, guilt?
Yeah, or maybe talking to a financial therapist or a coach could help too.
Absolutely. They can help you unpack those deeper beliefs and see if they're actually helping you or holding you back.
So self-awareness is key. And this actually leads right into another point Housel makes, which is defining what enough means to you.
That's such a good point because, our culture often tells us that we need more, more, more. But if you don't have a clear sense of what enough looks like for you, you'll just be chasing this moving target forever.
And probably never feeling satisfied.
Exactly. Defining enough allows you to set meaningful financial goals that are aligned with your values.
So it's like figuring out what truly matters to you and then using your money to support that.
Yeah. Yeah. It might be having enough to travel, to spend time with family, or maybe it's just knowing that you have a cushion if things go wrong. Whatever it is, having that clear vision can really help you make smarter financial decisions.
Okay, so define enough, be aware of your money scripts, and understand that wealth is about more than just the number in your bank account. What else?
Well, and this might sound counterintuitive, but Housel argues that saving is actually more important than how much you earn.
Wait, really?
Yeah.
You're telling me it's better to be a good saver than a high earner?
It's not that simple. But the point is, you can make a ton of money, but if you don't have good saving habits, it can disappear just as quickly.
I guess it's like that saying, it's not what you make, it's what you keep.
Exactly. And I've seen people who, maybe don't earn huge salaries, but they're really good savers. They manage to build a lot of wealth over time.
So it's about being smart with what you have, not necessarily earning a ton more.
Right. It's like you can have a leaky bucket and keep pouring more water in, but it's never going to fill up.
Makes sense. Okay, so we need to get better at saving. What else? What about investing?
Okay, so this is another area where Housel kind of challenges conventional wisdom. He says that trying to predict the future, like timing the market or guessing what the economy is going to do, it's basically a waste of time.
But don't we need to kind of have an idea of where things are going to make good investment decisions?
Sure, staying informed is important, but nobody can predict the future with certainty. And trying to time the market is just stressful and often leads to bad decisions.
Like selling everything when the market dips.
Exactly, when often the best thing to do is just ride out the storm. So instead of trying to predict the unpredictable, focus on what you can control.
Like saving consistently, investing wisely, things like that.
Right. Diversify your portfolio, build a margin of safety. Those are things you can do today to protect yourself.
Okay, so don't try to be a fortune teller. Just focus on the things you can actually control.
Exactly.
This actually ties in with another thing Housel advocates for, which is keeping investing simple.
Yeah, he's a big fan of index funds.
Okay, remind me what those are again.
Basically, they're like baskets of stocks that track a particular market index, like the S&P 500, for example.
So instead of picking individual stocks, you're kind of investing in the whole market.
Exactly. It's a way to capture the overall growth of the market without trying to become a stock-picking genius.
And it's probably a lot less stressful, too.
Definitely. And remember, avoiding big mistakes is just as important as, hitting home runs with your investments.
So slow and steady wins the race, right?
Something like that.
Okay, so after all this talk about money scripts, compounding, and not trying to predict the future, what's the big takeaway here? What's the point of all this?
Well, I think Housel sums it up beautifully. He says money is just a tool. It's not the goal itself. It's what you use it for that matters.
So true wealth isn't about having a ton of money. It's about having the freedom to use your money to live a life that's meaningful to you.
Exactly. It's about having options, having the ability to choose how you spend your time, to pursue your passions, to take care of your loved ones.
And that brings us back to where we started, being truly wealthy, not just rich.
Right. It's about understanding that your relationship with money is more psychological than just mathematical. And once you grasp that, you can start making choices that align with your values and your goals.
This has been such an insightful conversation. I feel like I'm already starting to look at money differently.
Me too. I think the biggest thing for me is that idea of defining enough is something I'm going to be thinking about a lot moving forward.
Yeah, me too. And Housel leaves us with this really thought-provoking question, which I think is a perfect way to end our deep dive. What financial lessons can we learn from history? Like, how have people handled money in different times and places? What can we learn from their successes and their mistakes? It's something I'm definitely going to be pondering myself.
That's a great question, and I think it reminds us that, we're not alone in this. People have been grappling with these same money questions for centuries, and hopefully, by understanding how others have navigated these challenges, we can find some wisdom to guide our own financial journeys.
Absolutely. Well, thanks for joining me for this deep dive. And to our listeners, remember, understanding the psychology of money is an ongoing process. But the more we learn about ourselves and our relationship with money, the better equipped we'll be to make choices that lead to a richer, more fulfilling life. Until next time.